Red Bull's chief extremely mad at Mercedes about FIA directive. Helmut Marko of Red Bull is displeased with the FIA after they issued a technical directive regarding porpoising prior to the Canadian Grand Prix. And why is this? Let's find out. Hey F1 friends! In this video we are going to find out what is porpoising and what makes the Red Bull chief extremely mad at Mercedes about the FIA directive to combat this crisis. Let us dig in. After a bouncing Azerbaijan Grand Prix that hampered many drivers and raised concerns about their long-term health, multiple teams and drivers put pressure on the FIA to act. The FIA indeed responded by issuing a technical directive prior to the next round in Canada, as the governing body seeks to ensure that the teams are operating their cars in a safe manner. Red Bull, on the other hand, has led the criticism of this technical directive, with team principal Christian Horner claiming that it was prompted by the struggles of one team, Mercedes, which had been hampered by porpoising and bottoming for much of the season. Horner went on to say that putting the FIA in charge of the setups that teams used was very dangerous. And Marko, Red Bull's driver program chief, agreed that the technical directive was a direct response to Mercedes' problems. "I don't think the FIA's decisions are right. One team, Mercedes, has the biggest problems, and then they react in the middle of the season," Marko said in an interview. "There's a simple solution. You just have to raise the car. Then you don't have this bouncing anymore, but you lose speed. The fact that they are now reacting in this way and trying to impose such powers on the FIA, which practically determine the setup of the cars, is a quick fix that has certainly not been thought through," he further explained. The Canadian Grand Prix was used for data collection rather than the FIA implementing their new porpoising measures. When asked if the FIA wants to monitor the bouncing as of the upcoming British Grand Prix, Marko believes the directive is too vague to do so effectively, adding that Mercedes stands to be the most affected. "There are still improvements to be made because the parameters are far too vague," Marko's statement of the directive. "One would be exposing oneself to arbitrariness. That would mainly affect the team that complained about it," he added. In Baku, Red Bull's Sergio Perez joined the chorus of drivers protesting the bouncing, but Marko said Red Bull keeps their drivers on top shape, so it's up to the individual teams to address the ride quality of their cars. "Our drivers are one of the biggest assets we have. We make sure that they are in top physical condition," Marko stated. And let's go dig a little bit more into this issue. What exactly is porpoising, and why is it such a big deal in auto racing? The most fascinating battle in Formula One this year isn't between Charles Leclerc and Max Verstappen, or Ferrari and Red Bull. It's between automotive engineering and the laws of physics. Even the best drivers in the fastest cars aren't immune to the scourge known as porpoising in this 2020 campaign. It's what happens when you see a driver's head bobbing up and down distinctly and repeatedly while his vehicle starts screaming down the track. This phenomenon is unsafe and a significant impediment to success, and we're going to find out what's going on. To build the perfect racing car, you must first master ground effect, which refers to the various factors that produce downforce, which is exactly what it sounds like. In a car, this means channeling force toward the road via the tires to maximize speed and traction. When these principles do not work in unison, one of the absolutely tragic outcomes is porpoising, which derives its name from the idea of a porpoise diving into the sea and then resurfacing repeatedly. Both the car and the driver clearly bounce up and down, which is especially noticeable on straights. The use of wind tunnels built into the underbody of the car, also known as Venturi tunnels, is a key component of the ground effect in Formula One. The airflow through these spaces must be continuous in order for the desired benefits to be realized. When airflow is partially blocked and continued at a rapid rate due to design insufficiency or vehicle damage, it produces the notable bouncing effect that drives racing teams insane and can have a serious impact on who wins championships and who's forced to start over. And that is porpoising. It occurs when you are unable to control what the downforce does to the floor of your car. And this leads us to the next question: how to stop porpoising? That's simple. Just raise your car's ride height. So why don't teams do that? We hear you're asking. Well, everything comes back to that key phrase: downforce. Running a car higher off the ground prevents porpoising, but it also produces less downforce. Your car will be slower if it has less downforce, and if your car is slower, you'll not receive any points. And if you don't score any points, your prize money will be pitiful at the end of the season. It doesn't help that smart hydraulic suspension systems have been blocked, partly because they're expensive and teams now have a cost cap, but also because they were discovered to contribute to that dirty air we were talking about. As a result, that's not a viable option for teams. But why are some teams more affected by porpoising than others? That's a good question. And if we had the intelligence to give you a detailed answer, we'd be lecturing at Harvard rather than doing YouTube videos. However, it all comes down to the various philosophies that the teams have adopted with their cars, as well as how efficient those designs translate into the real world. Take Mercedes' narrow side pod strategy. According to the team, this should generate massive amounts of downforce, and yet their powerful computer simulations fail to predict that bouncing what became apparent in the first lap of testing, and they're still struggling with it months later. Some speculated that the lack of side pods in comparison to the other teams meant that the floor, which is critical for generating downforce, was too exposed and thus flexing at high speeds. And that's just the key, creating a stable, manageable downward force that rises to, but does not exceed the limit of, what is possible under the new regulations. Is porpoising dangerous? Yeah, potentially. Mercedes has been plagued by porpoising more than any other team on the grid this year, and Lewis Hamilton admitted after the Azerbaijan Grand Prix that there were times when he almost lost control of his car in the high-speed corners. To be clear, Mercedes believes it has overcome its porpoising issues, as evidenced by its improved pace at the Spanish GP, but they are now bouncing extensively at tracks with rough surfaces by running the car as low as possible, identical to the untrained eye, but for different problems. In any case, many, if not the majority of the drivers, have urged the FIA to intervene, with some believing that it's only a matter of time before they sustain serious injuries, either from a massive crash or from the repeated and in some cases quite violent bouncing. But it's not that simple. Not many of the teams are suffering as much from porpoising, and those who anticipated the issue and built machines accordingly believe it's up to their competitors to design better cars. This resulted in a violent reaction from the Red Bull racing team. So what does it feel like to be porpoised? Is it like being smacked with a jackhammer? Or how about riding in a carbon fiber space hopper? We obviously haven't driven a 2022 F1 car, so here's Lewis Hamilton speaking immediately after the season's 8th race in Baku. I just got through that race on adrenaline, biting down on my teeth during the pain. I can't express the pain that you experience, especially on the straight here. And that brings us to the end of this video. Feel free to let us know what you think about it. And if you like this video, please leave a like and make sure you subscribe to our channel for all things F1 news. If you have any questions or comments on your mind, or any other thoughts that may pop up about the world of F1, make sure you leave it down below in the comment box. We check it out frequently, and we look forward to corresponding with you. Hey, we hope you have a wonderful day. We thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next video because we update and upload new ones all the time. Have a great day.